A really fun thing to do in Fallout 76 is visit other players' camps and see what they're selling at their vendors. You would be surprised by how many cool things that you can find by doing this, including rare weapons and armor, plans, and much more. You would also be surprised by how often you'll see someone selling something rare for under 1,000 caps, which gave me the idea for this video. In this video, I'm gonna see if I can go from 0 to 40,000 caps primarily from flipping items that I buy from other players. So I'm gonna start a fresh level 2 character with nothing on it, collect an initial startup of caps to use to buy things, build a shop, and then start flipping items to see how long it will take to flip my way up to 40,000 caps. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really need these caps and I probably won't level up this character. This is more of a challenge to see how long it would take someone to reach max caps by just flipping other people's items. So once I reach 40,000 caps, I plan on giving away all of the caps that I earned during this challenge. So if you want a chance at these caps, just like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then put your in-game name and platform that you play on in the comments below. And then I'll add someone from the comments and spend a bunch of caps at their vendor. You should also click the link in the pinned comment of this video to join my Fallout Discord server, where you can find other people to play Fallout 76 with, discuss the Fallout TV show, and just talk about anything related to Fallout. Now let's go make some caps. So I've just made my fresh level 2 character and I basically have nothing to my name other than the gear that I started with, and I also have 0 caps. Which means I need to farm up some caps to be able to buy items from other players. The way that I'm gonna do this is to farm the West Tech building for junk items that I can sell to the vendors at the White Springs Mall. These vendors will have a daily cap limit of 1,400 caps, which I feel is enough to get started with, but not too much to make it feel like this is an easy challenge. The problem is that on a new character, I can't fast travel to the White Springs Resort or the West Tech building, so I'll need to make a few caps to fast travel to player camps that are near these locations. Thankfully, there is a vendor to the south of Vault 76 at the lumber mill, so I'll just need to grab some junk items and sell them to afford fast travel. So it's been about 20 minutes now and I've unlocked both the White Springs Mall and West Tech as fast travel points, and I can now start farming junk items at West Tech. Now I'm choosing to do this because there's a lot of loot at West Tech, but there's also a lot of super mutant enemies here which will give a lot of experience for killing. I'm not trying to reach max level on this character, but gaining a few levels will help me increase my carry weight, and I want to level charisma up a little bit to get the travel agent perk card. That way I can go to more player camps and load up on items and still be able to fast travel if I'm over encumbered. So I'm gonna hop into West Tech and start farming junk items, then take it back to the White Springs Mall and sell it until I've gotten my daily 1,400 caps. It took a while, but I managed to get those 1,400 caps, and I've made some extra caps from looting the super mutant enemies at West Tech. So now I'm sitting on just over 1,800 caps, which should be enough to get my shop started. I just need to figure out where I will build my shop. Personally, I think my shop would do best outside of the White Springs Resort because that's a high traffic area. It also adds a place that's close to White Springs for people to fast travel to, which could bring more people to my shop. I don't need a big fancy base, so I'll just use a pre-built structure and then place some vending machines outside of it. And now it's time to go look for things to buy. The main things that I'm looking to buy are plans, because those are pretty easy to sell, because everyone is always looking to collect plans that they don't already have. I'm also looking for cheap legendary weapons and armor that I can flip, or that I can scrap for a chance to get legendary mods, which will sell for a lot. It would also be nice to find some cheap legendary mods that I can flip and sell for higher, and I'm looking for cheap apparel items and serums. Serums don't really sell that fast, but if you can buy them for cheap, which is under 200 caps, you can instantly sell them to NPC vendors for over 300 caps each. It's an easy and fast flip for caps. But if anything else stands out and it's reasonably priced, I'll grab it and try to flip it. The first world that I was on didn't really have anything special. It was mainly just random plans that were selling for 50 to 100 caps each. So I decided to load up on these just to have things to sell. Then I would list these for at least 125 caps to make a profit. This was actually working pretty well, and I would sell plans here and there for more than what I bought them for. I then swapped to a new world and got very lucky with the first vendor that I visited. This player was selling power armored jetpack mods for 50 caps each. I have sold these before for over 500 caps, so I instantly grabbed them. But they were also selling the Junkie and Troubleshooter legendary mods for 250 caps each. I have always sold legendary mods very quickly and for a decent amount, so I knew I could easily get thousands of caps for these two mods, so I grabbed both of them. As I was getting back to my shop to list these mods, a player was browsing through my vending machine, and once they noticed me, they decided to drop a ton of plans on the ground. They must have thought that I was a new player and they were trying to help me, and the plans that they gave me will definitely help me reach my goal of 40,000 caps. But after missing out on an item that I knew I could sell for a good chunk of caps, I decided to call it a night and get back to flipping in the morning. The bloodied for 1,000 caps is actually a pretty good deal. Like, you can flip that, you can make a lot from that. And it disappeared. Shit, I wasn't fast enough. No, no way. Day 2 started off much stronger. I loaded into the game and started to look for new items to flip, and while I was doing this, other players were at my shop and buying up the plans and items that I got yesterday. This brought me up to 5,500 caps, which was a great start to the day. I then found a vendor that was selling a leader bobblehead for 100 caps, and the plans for the fixer rifle for 180 caps. And another vendor was selling cheap legendary weapons and the plans for the Scorpion plushie. So I grabbed the Scorpion plushie plan and I grabbed some of the legendary weapons and scrapped them, which got me the 3-star legendary mod. And then I listed everything that I bought. Shortly after this, I sold the leader bobblehead for 500 caps, the plans for the fixer and the Scorpion plushie for 1,500 caps each, and I ended up selling that agility mod for 3,000 caps. That legendary mod came from a legendary weapon that I bought for 300 caps, so that was a great flip. This brought me up to a total of 9,774 caps, and there was still a lot of time left in the night. My shop was full and I didn't want to spend my caps too quickly, so I decided to relist items to make them cheaper, then just hang out around my shop and wait for players to show up. I would occasionally leave the world I was on to get into new lobbies to find new potential customers, but I was finding that the location of my camp was pretty popular, so when joining new worlds there would always be another person's camp at that location. So I decided to move my camp to a new spot but stay close to the White Springs Resort. After this, I went looking for more items to flip, and that's when I found some plans for items that I personally bought on my main character for much more than these players were selling them for, like the alien operating table, asteroids, and giant dinosaurs. So I decided to take the chance to buy these plans for around 1,000 to 1,400 caps each, which brought my total caps back down to the 5,000 range, but it was worth it because I do think I can sell these plans for much more than 1,000 caps. By the end of the night, I had sold a bunch of random plans and items for 50 to 150 caps each, but I also sold the plans for a witch costume for 300 caps and a map table for 900 caps. I originally bought both of these plans for 15 caps each, and I sold the Troubleshooter legendary mod that I bought for 250 caps for 3,000 caps, which made me end the night at 12,287 caps. When I originally planned this video, I figured that day number 3 would be a very big day and be the end of this challenge, because day number 3 was landing on December 1st, which was the day before the Burning Springs update released. My thought here was that a wave of new players would be returning to Fallout 76 on the 1st to get ready for the update, and these new players may log in with some cheap rare items in their shop, or they could see some of the newer plans that I was selling and grab them to add to their collection. But this really wasn't the case. Sure, there was a decent amount of returning players, but there wasn't anything interesting for sale in their shops, other than some serums that I got for cheap and I'll sell to a vendor for an easy flip. I did end up selling some cheaper plans and items here and there, but I wasn't really finding anything good, until I ran into this camp that was selling plans for 2 caps each, including the plan for the mechanic's best friend. This isn't a great weapon, but it is rare, and even rarer to find for so cheap. There was also a few other things that I got from this vendor for 2 caps, but the mechanic's best friend was the big one. Later on in day 3, I sold the plans for the mechanic's best friend for 6,000 caps, and I sold pretty much every other item that I bought that day for 2 caps as well. And then at the end of the night, I sold some of the serums that I had purchased from other players to a vendor. And after that, I was sitting at just over 32,000 caps, which was very close to the goal of 40,000. When the Burning Springs update released the next day, the game was completely impossible to play, so I ended up taking the day off. But the next day, the servers were much more stable and I was able to get back into the game. I loaded into this character and sold some serums for the daily 1400 caps, but then logged into my main character to play through some of the new content. It wasn't until around 1 AM on the 5th that I went back to this character and got back to flipping. Once I got into the game, I decided to move my camp to the new Burning Springs area of the map, thinking this would help me get more people at my vendor as this was the new area that most people would be spending their time at. And it may have been a good call because shortly after getting there, I had players show up at my camp and start buying items, which pushed me up to 35,000 caps. At this point, I was very close to the goal of 40,000 caps and I knew I had enough in my vendor to get me there. But I still felt like checking out players' vending machines to find some good deals. And that's when I came across the golf cart plans being sold for 100 caps. I have seen this plan many times in other vending machines listed for over 20,000 caps, so I knew I had to buy this when I saw it for only 100 caps. When I brought it back to my vending machine, I wanted to post it for 15 to 20,000 caps, but that would have been a bad idea because I was less than 5,000 caps away from 40,000, so everything over that would have just disappeared. So instead, I listed it for 5,000 caps and figured someone else could get a good deal on it and I would complete my challenge. It was getting close to 4 AM and I hadn't had anyone show up to my vendor in a while, so I decided to call it a night, figuring I would get that last 5,000 caps in the morning. As soon as I logged back into the game in the morning, I had someone come to my camp and spend 2,300 caps, which brought me up to 38,581 caps. I had some leftover serums, so I brought them to White Springs to sell them, and that's when I noticed that the daily vendor cap limit had been doubled. This was done by Bethesda as part of their apology for the servers not working when Burning Springs released. So I was able to sell those serums that I had been buying from other players for less than 100 caps for the remaining caps that I needed to reach 40,000 caps. And just like that, I had completed my challenge of flipping items that I bought from other players until I reached 40,000 caps. This only took me 4 different sessions, which is a little bit longer than I thought it would, but regardless, I was still able to pull in 40,000 caps from basically doing nothing. Now I know that there are better ways to make caps in Fallout 76, but I figured maybe some new players would see this video and learn something from it, and then start flipping cheap items that other players are selling to make some quick money. But it also allowed me to try out a new form of video. I had fun doing this and I have many ideas for future videos that will be similar to this one. So if you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, subscribe to this channel to see more videos just like this one.